Hello and welcome to
Disney Do-Overs!
I'm Jill.
And I'm Annabeth.
And today we're talking about The Jungle Book.
The Jungle Book.
Yay.
Some kind of jungle book.
Okay, so this is another one where we have not read the source material.
Nope, we don't read.
Hey, I read 101 Dalmatians. For all the good that did. But today we're talking about the 1967 adaptation of Rupert Kipling's Jungle Book, and also the 2016 adaptation of that movie.
And we might throw in a little extra something.
To start things off, I always like to do my little fun facts. Fun facts about the 1967 movie. It was the last movie overseen by Disney before his death.
Oh no.
Yeah.
He died.
He did. Well, maybe he's frozen somewhere. You don't know.
I hope so. Maybe we'll find him next week at Disney World.
We're going to Disney.
This is the episode before we go to Disney World.
That's a better way. Fun fact about the 2016 movie, it was entirely filmed in a studio. It was not filmed outside. It was all inside. I didn't know that.
Movie magic.
Another fun fact, there's a 1994 movie. It exists. Don't watch it. I mean, watch it with a group of friends, because it's something.
It was like, wow, welcome to the food chain.
So this is Jill and Annabeth from the future. When Jill was editing the podcast, we messed up.
That Mowgli story movie was not the movie we meant to watch.
So we knew going into watching this movie there was a 1994 Disney live-action remake. We didn't know anything about it, so when we saw on Disney Plus that there was what looked like a live-action Jungle Book, that's not the 2016 one, we just assumed it was that one, without doing our research. It's not.
To be fair, Mowgli's story is a live-action movie made by Disney based on the Jungle Book. So, it is a live-action remake-ish. It's just not the one we meant to compare.
We meant to compare the 1994 Rupert Kipling's The Jungle Book with the 2016 remake and the original animated one. Instead, we did not.
Nope. But we saw a very weird, very entertaining movie that I highly recommend for anyone who just wants to laugh a lot.
So we just wanted to put this in there that anytime in this podcast that you're listening to, we're talking about Mowgli's story. It's not what we meant, but it is what we actually watched. Maybe in the future we'll get around to doing a separate podcast about the actual quote-unquote first live-action remake, which was the 1994 Jungle Book, but it's not in this podcast.
Nope. Just gonna have to wait in suspense for that one.
So yeah, back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about the animated movie first, because that came first.
It did. It came first. It came first in 1967.
I honestly, I think I knew this movie came out in the 60s, but every time I think of The Jungle Book, I always imagine it's much, much older. To be fair, I think about it as if it came out in, the 1800s, which doesn't make any sense.
Back when they were animating those movies.
It just...
Walt Disney walked the earth.
It feels like an older movie than it actually is to me, personally.
Right, because, I don't know.
I don't really know why.
Rudyard Kipling is
I guess.
old and...
Yay, colonialism. Jungle Book is about a boy who's raised in the jungle.
Yep.
Basically. If you were somehow unfamiliar with the story.
I can't imagine someone not having seen the movie.
I can imagine them not having seen it.
I can believe it also because
I feel like everyone knows about Darth Vader. Everyone kind of knows the Jungle Book, even if they haven't seen it.
I don't know. Kids these days.
So yeah, Mowgli was separated from his parents in various adaptations for different reasons. Raised by a pack of wolves, has a panther friend and a bear friend. Shere Khan the tiger wants to kill him. He has to go back to his man village. And the story
Theoretically, he has to go back to his man village. We'll see.
But that's the story.
Yeah.
This doesn't bother me at all in the animated movie, but I do have notes about, how many litters did Mowgli grow up with? Because, the lifespan of wolf could be anywhere from, 6 to 13 years.
Yeah.
And if, his dad, I think Rama, and, that's different. His dad, Rama, has to be at least 2 years old. And if Mowgli's 10, he's, an old man at the beginning of the movie. Near the end of his life, old.
I mean,
it's a cartoon, so
he's old. It's fine.
Real old.
A grown-up voice.
Real old. he would be dead in most instances.
Oh no.
It doesn't bother me because it's a cartoon,
Well,
but just the
okay,
idea that
Mowgli
wolf
also
lifespans are very short in comparison. If he's being raised with the puppies,
Yeah.
he should be like, there should be several puppy, like,
Several litters.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's like several litters, which they address in the other movie.
Yeah.
But I just add that as a note, as well as creepy Uncle Bagheera.
Creepy Uncle Bagheera.
Like, he's not actually represented as being creepy uncle, but like just kind of thinking about it and how it's represented in the movie, he just drops this kid off without the wolves knowing he's there. Like, there might be a line later in the movie where they, like, the wolves acknowledge that Bagheera dropped him off, but otherwise he's just weird. Panther just has a weird interest in Mowgli, and the wolf parents don't know why.
Oh.
So he's just kind of around.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, he's not actually portrayed as creepy, and I don't think he's creepy. I wrote that down because I just thought of it while I was watching it.
I'm assuming somewhere in time, the wolves and Bagheera have a nice chat, but it definitely doesn't seem like it because he just leaves the baby there and kind of nudges baby Mowgli to make him cry to get the wolves' attention, and then you got a baby kid, and Bagheera didn't acknowledge that he did that.
No, it was also, again, it's not a big deal to me, but I'm just kind of curious why he would have chosen to, like, not present child to wolves and ask, hey, do you want this thing, as opposed to, like, making it cry to, like, tug on their heartstrings to, like, want it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he thought they wouldn't want it.
Maybe.
So he brought it to the family who wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Bagheera, though. He's my fave.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that happens, and, like, there's word that Shere Khan exists.
Big scary tiger.
Which, I know in this movie, he doesn't even, like, they talk about him a lot, but he doesn't show up until, like, 2/3 in. Mowgli has to leave for his own safety. And I just have a note about how starting a journey with a kid not knowing where they're going seems like a bad idea. Bagheera just says, hey, do you want to go for a walk? And, like, by the way, you're never coming home.
Yeah. Everyone kind of treats Mowgli like crap in this movie for his own good.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I had a note about that later, how pretty much everyone betrays him and lies to him, even his friends.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think Baloo straightforward tells him that he has to go to the man village. He doesn't, like, lie to him.
Yeah, he doesn't lie to him. He just, in Mowgli's eyes, betrays him because he thought he was gonna get to stay with Baloo, and then Baloo's like, actually, you gotta go.
Yeah, Mowgli doesn't make any of his own decisions.
Yeah, he
He's just
has
a
no
kid.
agency.
He's just a kid.
Because he's a child.
He's treated like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Winnie the Pooh is a hungry snake.
That is the best way of putting it. Winnie the Pooh is a hungry snake with googly eyes.
I really like Kaa.
Me too.
It's a fun part of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun animation. It's a fun character.
I love the animation of his eyes. Okay, refresh my memory. Does the snake in Robin Hood have weird eyes like that too? Or is that just a Kaa thing?
I
snake
honestly don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't think he did the eye thing. Sir Hiss.
I probably should have watched. We should have watched Robin Hood along with the other two movies.
Why?
Because
it has a snake in it?
No, because there's legit animation from
that's
Jungle
true.
Book in Robin Hood. Like Little John and Baloo are the same thing.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Wait, are they voiced by the same actor too? No.
I don't know.
Wait. Phil Harris
Phil
Harris voiced Baloo, and he has a great voice. I love
They might
Phil
have been
Harris's
voiced by the
voice.
same person.
I'm pretty sure he voices O'Malley from the Aristocats. Yes, he's Little John and he's O'Malley from the Aristocats. Not to mention he is also Baloo. That's wonderful.
So yeah, legit.
Three of my favorite Disney movies right here, and Phil Harris is in all of them with that beautiful, beautiful voice. I thought it was ironic that the Sherman Brothers did the music for The Jungle Book, except if you notice in the opening credits it says like music by the Sherman Brothers, and then it says Bare Necessities by someone else. Someone named Terry. I'm sorry, Terry, I forgot your last name.
I don't actually.
But like,
I should read the credits.
Biggest hit, the biggest song, not the Sherman Brothers. I thought that was funny because they're like the Disney Music Men, and not Bare Necessities though.
That's a cool fact. I didn't notice. Honestly, when like the opening credits are on in old Disney movies, I just kind of sit back and relax.
They're so pleasant.
They really are.
I love them.
I talk about that in every single podcast.
I know. We're going to continue to talk about it. And hey, let's mention the scratchy animation with all
I
the lines.
love it. I know a lot of people hate it. I love it.
I think it's beautiful. I never really thought about it, but you loved it. And then I was like, I love it too. I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It just makes me feel good.
So I really like the animation in this. Not just like the scratchy, liney animation, but the backgrounds, how plain they are, how it's just like, sometimes it's just blue. And I don't know.
Did I miss that? What parts of the movie are just blue?
Okay, well, not just blue. Like the sky. I mean, not just blue.
Okay.
But like when Mowgli and Bagheera are in a tree with Kaa, the background is just really, really plain. There's no detail. There's no, like... There's never any background movement other than when they walk past the waterfall. And the backgrounds are very plain, and it's really easy to tell where the layers are in the animation, because you can, like, the backgrounds literally look like paintings, and then you've got the characters moving across the paintings. And at one point, Mowgli was, like, climbing down from a rock, and it was kind of off, almost. It was like he wasn't really solidly interacting with the rock. It was interesting. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing at all, because it was just fascinating to watch the animation.
I do think that's an interesting, like, thing to bring up, because I think if you're looking from a completely, like, objective view of the movie, it's not a positive thing. But for us, we grew up with it, so we like it.
It's nostalgic and pretty.
Bagheera is a terrible babysitter. Like, his father trusted him to take Mowgli to the village. He legit just abandoned him twice.
He did, yeah.
Like, the first time for no good reason.
I know. I wrote down, Bagheera actually just gets fed up and abandons him with like 1,000,000 question marks, because I forgot he did that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he goes back to get him really quick when he hears that he's in trouble.
He does, but he just
But he shouldn't have left him in the
him.
first place. Bad babysitter.
Bagheera is not a father.
No.
Or maybe...
He's an uncle. He's such an uncle. Bagheera is the ultimate uncle. Are there... wolves in India?
Yeah, they're Indian wolves.
There are. I just forget that there are.
There are wolves in India. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, we will, because these animated wolves were precious. Also, did they recycle some 101 Dalmatians animation with the puppy wolves?
They either recycled
like
it or it's just the same artist, because it does look very similar.
It looks really similar when like the puppies are running and tumbling and being puppies. I feel like setting it in India. I mean, it's set in India, but like I feel like it's a very different setting from most Disney movies up to that point. So I thought that was cool. That, you know, usually they're drawing European castles and things, and now it's just like, oh, India, cool. Of course, as a child, I never processed that it was in India, even though they very clearly said it was in India. Of course, as a child, I didn't have a concept of what countries were, but.
I mean, it's set in India. It doesn't most of the time scream India to me. Like, unless you're looking at some of the characters, like when you're with King Louis in his domain. But for the most part, they're in a jungle.
Yeah, they're just like generic jungle. I feel like as a kid, I assumed it was in Africa because that's where I thought the jungles were. And to be fair, do they have orangutans in India?
Orangutans, I'm pretty sure, are not in India.
Yeah. So.
Neither, well... Is it ever defined what kind of bear Baloo is?
So in the 2016 version,
he's a sloth bear.
He's a sloth bear,
which I'm pretty sure are in India.
Okay, I don't know what
they
kind
did
of
a
bear
lot better.
He's supposed to be.
Just looks like a bear.
He's just a bear. He's just a big cuddly bear.
Oh, I do have. I just wrote the word pawpaw. Because, like, in the past, I have, like, gone through extreme efforts to figure out what a pawpaw is in this movie.
It's a papaya!
But it's not. But it is, but it's not.
I learned from the 2016 version of the movie that a pawpaw is a papaya.
Yeah, but they don't know what they're talking about. A pawpaw is a North American fruit.
Oh.
Like, there is literally a fruit called a pawpaw that is a North American fruit. It does not exist in India. Which makes me really... Like, I went into, like, extreme detail, like, weeks ago, trying to figure out if the movie was referring to North American pawpaws or papayas, because there's very few references of papayas called pawpaws. or prickly pears. Like, they're all words that exist in the world,
Yeah.
but I don't know how this song came to exist. And I also didn't even come to any conclusions on it. Like, I give up. I don't know what they were trying to go for. It's a papaya, but it's also not a papaya. But also, prickly pears are the same thing, but not the same thing. But there's a big pawpaw. Is that a papaya? What's the little pawpaw? I went a little crazy on pawpaws.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say to that. Just
I like that part of the song.
I do too.
It sounds good.
Yeah. When you pick a pawpaw.
When Jill picks a pawpaw, she gets very intently interested in the origins and etymology of pawpaw.
Yeah, she do. Yeah, she do. Yeah, I don't have any follow-up to the pawpaw debate that you're having with yourself and the internet. So let's talk about monkeys.
Do we have to?
I like the way King Louis was animated of, like, standing on one of his arm legs and just... Okay, I like the way all the characters move in this movie. I wrote down, is it weird that I think I like the choreography even though it's not choreography? Like, anytime characters dance, like when Mowgli and Baloo are dancing in the jungle, or like when King Louis is like up on his one arm leg, and just everything. I love the choreography of it.
I get it.
Just the way they're animated, in like the way their movements are animated, the way the monkeys move. I love the part where King Louis jumps rope with his arms. Yeah, I like that. I also like the 60s-ness of it, like the vultures
Or
and
the Beatles.
the monkeys.
They were supposed to be the Beatles.
Yeah. But like, also some of the monkeys have 1960s haircuts as well. Like, I love how 60s it is. It's so great.
I literally have notes about that. I think earlier I had them right next to the notes about this movie always feels really old to me. 1960s haircuts.
1960s. Really old. I mean...
But it's very, like...
Yeah.
If you rewatch it at all, you'll notice, like, oh yeah, this is a 60s movie.
I also like Shere Khan's mannerisms, like the little flick of his claws or his little head bobble. And his voice is deliciously sinister.
He's
and
very
I
classy.
love it. He's the classiest villain. I like Shere Khan.
Shere Khan's good.
He's a bad dude, but I like him.
He's a sophisticated, likable villain.
Exactly. He is. He's like Scar. He's that sophisticated... Well, he's more sophisticated than Scar.
I like him more than Scar.
I don't know about that, but I like him a lot. I like how sophisticated and just droll he is, and just like,
He's good.
and
I will say the characters in this adaptation are very memorable and likable.
Oh, definitely.
Like all of them.
Yeah, the villain you like, the heroes you like. I really liked Mowgli. Like, you remember the animals a lot more, but I liked Mowgli. I thought he was, one, very cute, two, like, adorable when he laughed. Like, he hugs himself when he laughs really hard, and I just thought that was just, they just animated him so cute.
I will say that when we watched this in college, I guess, I remember really liking it. And I watched it again. I didn't dislike it at all. I just didn't have, like, I remembered liking it, and then I didn't actually have those same feelings watching it this time.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like it as much this time around.
Yeah, this is one that's one of my parents' favorite Disney movies. So I always thought, you know, like, oh yeah, it's one of my favorite Disney movies. I mean, it's not really one of my favorite Disney movies. I do like it a lot, but it's probably not even in my top 10, but I do really like it.
It's not a very standout movie.
Yeah.
But it's just really likable.
It is. It's pleasant and fun. I think a lot of the movies that were kind of made in that era are just nice. They're nice. They're not like anything epic or game changing, but they're just nice.
They're just kind of their own vessel for, like, here's a good time, here's some fun songs, some really cool characters. Don't, like, think that much on the story. It's just have a good time.
Yeah.
Because I will say the story, although present, is not, like, hard hitting. It's not super well constructed. Because it's like Mowgli
just kind of some things happening in the jungle. I mean, there is the overarching thing of Mowgli needs to go to the man village, but it's a lot of isolated incidents happening in the jungle, which
it's
is
very
a fun
isolated.
time.
And, like, because it's kind of isolated, I just don't, this time around, I didn't really feel the the movement towards Mowgli wanting to go to the man village, because, like, he doesn't, and then he sees a girl, and he does.
Yeah, that ending.
Which is fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
He found something he wanted.
Yeah, despite not wanting to go to the man village the entire movie and saying he doesn't want to do this thing the entire movie, but then just because they needed a reason to get him into the man village, he sees a girl and he's like, oh, I want to go to the man village now. I guess I thought of the ending of Little Women.
I mean, you could argue that it's just not a very well presented version of Mowgli has never seen a person before.
Yeah.
And he finally does have a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make that a very strong argument because he just sees pretty girl and wants pretty girl.
Pretty girl.
But you can make that argument.
I would argue that the Jungle Book, Mowgli's story from 1994, does this way better because...
Oh my god.
Yeah, I just made that argument.
Continue.
That just happened.
Continue making the argument.
Okay, so in Mowgli's story, at the end, young Mowgli, or near the end, he actually goes back and does a bunch of stuff after it. So it's not the end. But at one point, he sees the man village, and he's like, oh my gosh, these are people. I'm a people. You know, basically. And then the kids are kicking a ball, and the ball goes in his direction, and he kicks the ball, and the other kids are like, wow, he kicked it so far, and they look at him with, like, acceptance, and it's not just a thirsty girl getting some water out of the river.
Literally. She's literally thirsty.
Yeah, she's going to fetch the water because she's thirsty. And Baloo's like, she did that on purpose.
Yeah.
And Bagheera is, like, smiling, and I wrote, Bagheera ships it. I am Baloo.
Bagheera wants Mowgli to be happy.
And Baloo thinks it's a trap. No. He was just like, so, like, oh, she did that on purpose. Like, how dare she?
I mean, she legit did do it on purpose.
She totally did. I know. I think I wrote later, she did do that on purpose. Because I forgot that she did do that on purpose. So I would say that the 1994 Mowgli story does the whole Mowgli should want to go to the man village better than the 1967 animated version.
I wouldn't say it's a strong better, because although,
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
It's like, yes, he had a better reason, but it doesn't mean that movie presented that reason in any of a better way.
The movie also has things peppered in, like when he goes to Monkey Town, which is just like an abandoned hut, and he finds people artifacts, basically, and he's like, oh, stuff that is from man. So they incorporate that. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think the 1994 Mowgli story does the more like, oh, he sees people and he feels acceptance and that's why he wants to go. Whereas the animated one is just like, thirsty girl. She's
I don't
pretty.
know. Like, it's still not super well done in 1994 either.
Oh, yeah, the 1994 movie is not a good movie by any means.
And I'm not just talking about the whole thing as being a trash fire. I'm talking about that specific scene is not, like, overwhelmingly good. It just is marginally better than the animated one.
Right. Okay, I can live with that.
Alright, is there anything more you want to talk about the animated movie, or do you want to move on?
Shere Khan runs off with a flaming tree limb on his tail and the jungle doesn't catch fire.
Weird.
That'll be mentioned again later. Well, it starts raining immediately, so that's why the jungle doesn't catch fire.
No, it was the elephants.
Right. I wanted to also mention the friendship between Baloo and Bagheera. I liked that.
People ship it, apparently. I brought it
I
there.
mean, you wouldn't marry a panther. I don't know. A panther's never asked me. Oh yeah, at the very end I wrote, and then they dance off into the sunset to find out if Baloo would marry a panther.
Well, they gotta do something. Their child just left the nest.
Right.
They're empty nesters now.
Yep.
They have some together time to have.
But I really liked the scene where they're arguing about, like, taking Mowgli to the man village, and Baloo's like, why me? And Bagheera's like, because he won't listen to me. I don't know, I just felt like that was a good emotional moment. In a movie full of mostly jungle antics, they did have some, like, good emotional beats, which was nice. And also I just liked their friendship because they were, like, There was, like, friendly animosity. That's how I would describe it. But
I think I have a note about them
was sweet.
just thinking about different parenting styles with the two of them.
Oh, yeah. Bagheera is, like, the strict one, and Baloo's, like, the fun dad.
Yeah. And I do think they did a good job of, like, in this one, I guess, well, actually in both of the main movies we're talking about, Baloo meets Mowgli during their journey, and they do have that instant rapport of, like, becoming friends, and also you definitely feel the sense of, like, Baloo wanting to take on fatherhood. At least I see that.
Oh, yeah, he starts referring to him as Papa Bear.
Yeah.
And Baloo, like, refers to himself as his Papa Bear.
So I really liked that.
Yeah. It was like he's portrayed as, like, this irresponsible, kind of, like, lazy, slouchy bear who doesn't do stuff, but, like, he wants to take on responsibility when it comes to having Mowgli as his little cub.
Yeah.
So that's sweet. Just a thought about, like, at the end, after the whole confrontation between Shere Khan and Baloo, and then there's the classic Disney death fake out.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how many Disney movies have someone like, oh no, they're dead, and then they're alive. Like, I would like to count those sometimes.
Like, you know how some channels do, like, supercuts of different things?
Yeah.
We could do a supercut if we ever felt like getting clips of stuff together. Of all the different things.
Yeah, because I feel like that happens in almost every Disney movie.
You're talking about the Disney death fake out.
Yes.
I would like to do one for all the
falling to their death?
The Disney death, aka falling to your death.
Yes, that one too. But that one wasn't in this. That was in the 2016 one. But in this one, it was Baloo is dead. And then Baloo is obviously not dead. I like how Bagheera just immediately is just like, quoting the Bible, greater love hath no one than this. And then Baloo is just, like, watching while Bagheera gives this big eulogy. Moving on to the 2016 version, unless you have anything else.
It had such an epic trailer. I was so disappointed, but it had such a good trailer.
Is there a way, without copyright infringement, we can put just a little snippet of the music from the trailer?
Just go listen to the trailer. Just go watch the trailer. It's the best part of the movie.
The 2016 Jungle Book trailer has this epic version of Bare Necessities, like this instrumental.
It's got that rise, too, that makes you feel things.
Yeah,
it's so good. Honestly, you could call the soundtrack to this movie fire if it was used more, but it's such a good... They could have done so much with it, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. It's in the background, but...
Oh, yeah. I think I wrote down at one point, like, that was an odd choice. It's, like, not the epic version from the trailer, but just, like, kind of a stirring but mellow instrumental version of Bare Necessities.
Yeah.
Is played at some point in the movie that seemed just an odd choice. Oh, when Mowgli helps the baby elephant. Yeah, when Mowgli helps the baby elephant get out of the pit.
It's in there somewhere. I remember hearing it.
Yeah, but it was, like, in an odd place. Because you wouldn't think, like, Bare Necessities in that
I
scene.
think it's in multiple parts of the movie, unless I'm just wrong.
I guess so.
But I remember hearing it
like,
several times.
People like Bare Necessities. Let's put this in this part. And just close their eyes and point to a part in the movie. Like,
no, I
Bare
think
Necessities?
You may not notice it, but maybe secretly it's just the score to the entire movie. It's just Bare Necessities
it's just Bare
over
Necessities
and over.
over and over. Yeah. I could buy that.
But again, it's so epic in the trailer, and it's so subtly or not noticeable in the movie, and it could have been used so much more. Because the music choices they made in the movie were so bad, the rest of the music choices. But we'll get to that in a second.
You can't see my face, but you can imagine if you've seen it.
I think this movie was a little bit better in me understanding Bagheera's role in Mowgli's life.
How so?
He's much... Like, it's mentioned in the anime movie that they go on walks together. That's not unusual. But, like, in this one, you see Bagheera helping to raise Mowgli to be an animal in the jungle.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like. Like, it made me believe it a little bit more that he's involved in Mowgli's life.
He's a little bit harder on Mowgli in this version, though. He's not, like, as, like, nice uncle. I mean, he was never, like, the fun uncle, but... I don't know, he's, like, chastising him when he's not a good wolf. I'm just like, come on, Bagheera, you're a nice cat.
He's always viewed as, like, the stricter parent.
He's the strict one.
And that's just a different way of showing him as the stricter parent. And I do like that more so than the other movies, they're, like, explicitly saying they're trying to make him not a man. They want him to be an animal. They want him to be a wolf.
Yeah. It seems, I don't know. They are trying to make him be an animal and be a wolf, and that's why they're so against what they call, like, his tricks. So basically, when he does some sort of invention or innovation that, like, a man would do, rather than doing it the animal way. For me, like, them being like, oh, don't do those tricks. I don't know, it's just, like, it's a little cliche, like, oh, they don't like him because he's different. I think that kind of trope is one that always, you know how certain, like, cliches just annoy people in different ways. I'm like, that one's just so tired and done. I mean, it works in the movie and it works with the story, but I'm bored of it.
It's more used in this movie, but, like, it's not, to me, exactly the same kind of trope as, like, he's not, what was it that you said? He's not...
Like, he's different. And...
It's not that he's different, he's a man, and they're not saying they don't like him because he's different, they're saying, like, no, you have to be an animal here. Yeah. Whereas, like, I do like that in this, like, it's a cool thing that in this movie, he's, like, you see him be a tool user, he makes stuff, he makes his cups. They even legit have, like, I think this was a little bit too on the nose, like, he's banging rocks together to make a knife.
Yeah.
That just seemed like, maybe it's because I, like, did anthropology and some other stuff. It just seemed too blatant to me.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I think that was a you thing, because I was like, oh yeah, he's doing stuff with making a knife, but I didn't think it was, like, too much. I think in this one, like you said, it has much more of a payoff, because you see him do things the human way, because he is a human.
Oh, I wouldn't say that's a payoff.
And
I would very much say it doesn't have a payoff.
I
would say it builds to something and then doesn't have a payoff at all.
Well, the way he escapes from Shere Khan and, like, tricks him up the tree, and he has a way to get out because he made a swing.
I'm more saying that, like, to me, if you keep having these instances in the movie, my brain is gonna go to, he's gonna realize that he's a man and needs to be with men because he's like that.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the story would lead to that more so than how the movie actually ends.
Yeah, that's a good point. Continue.
Elephants are God.
Yeah, basically.
Like, that's all I thought during that scene when the elephants come at the end. It's like, wow, they blatantly did a Deus Ex Machina. The elephants came in at the end, and elephants are God.
Yeah.
I also have a note following that saying, man is better than God, because Mowgli's riding an elephant.
Yeah, the end, and the elephants, like, dam up the waterfall to make the banks of the river flood to put out the fires that Mowgli started.
It's a little weird.
It could have been... I remember when we first watched it, and we were both mad that Mowgli set the jungle on fire, and then there were, like, no consequences, and that could have been a really interesting emotional arc with him dealing with the consequences of setting the home he loves on fire, and everyone blaming him for it. But instead, Mowgli saved the day, and the elephants put out the fire at the end.
Yeah.
And then Mowgli doesn't go to the man village.
Yeah!
Because they're just like, nah.
Also, I'm sure everyone thinks this, but the water buffalo is just the Lion King.
Right? Yeah. I was just like, how did a little person survive that stampede and Mufasa didn't? Come on.
Well, he didn't get trampled.
Yeah. And Rachel pointed out a good point. She's like, it's because he has opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Shere Khan in this one.
Idris Elba likes playing evil cats.
I wouldn't say Shere Khan's any better than in the animated one, but
definitely not. He's not as classy.
But you don't have to be a classy villain to be a good villain. Like, they make him more despicable.
He's very scary.
Yeah. Like, I like him. He's not, like, a likable villain, but he's, like, a good, despicable, like, you don't like him.
Where he has the pups in that scene, and he's talking about the cuckoo birds, and then he just, like, has the pups, but he's not doing anything to them, and then he just lets them go. Oh, and then he doesn't let the last one go. Oh, but then he lets them go. Yeah. That is so sinister and scary, and that's, like, adult scary. That's, like, right up there with Hunchback of Notre Dame as, this is scary for grown-ups. Like, I was scared.
Well, you're scared of a lot of things.
No, but, like, that was a scary scene.
Like I was saying, Shere Khan in this movie, although different, it's still good.
I agree. I thought he was good. I thought Idris Elba did a good job as Shere Khan.
He's a good actor.
He is a good actor. I also liked Bill Murray as Baloo.
Oh, he's
Completely
fine.
different from Phil Harris, but I think he made some great comedic choices.
Yeah.
I thought he was really funny. Yeah,
I really liked Ka in this one.
It was just Scarlett Johansson.
I liked it, though. Like, I like how they did her eyes. I liked how really creepy the whole scene was. Like, I kind of wish it had been, like, more. Like, she had been more of the secondary villain than, like, even having King Louis.
Right, because Ka had a much bigger presence in the animated version. He, like, kept coming back.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just really feel like if you're gonna take Ka from the original, like, because I think, like, as good as it is, like, also the eyes in the original were, like, they gave me that feeling of being kind of creepy because he is, like, hypnotizing Mowgli.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of that in this one where, like, you feel that creepiness in a different way.
Yeah, they translated it pretty well. I wrote, oh, they tried. But really, they actually did a good job. Like, they weren't going to make it swirly and cartoony. So for what transition it was actually pretty good because her eyes changed colors. But it was just, like, a lot more subtle because it was trying to be more realistic. As realistic as a hypnotic snake can be. But
I liked it.
I liked it a lot, yeah. I think it was good. Although, honestly, I like, what was it, Sterling Holloway, I think, is the voice actor who played Ka in the original.
Winnie
Yes,
the Pooh?
I mean Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
That voice, I guess just because I grew up watching the movie and I'm like, that sounds like Ka, that's a snake. And then I heard Scarlett Johansson, I'm like, that sounds like Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, to me, yeah, it sounds like Scarlett Johansson as much as Bill Murray sounds like Bill Murray.
Yeah, I guess
But
I'm just not as used to Bill Murray's voice, so I was just like, okay.
But to me, like, I think Ka was really good because, like, yeah, it sounds like her, but it gives the feelings of who is this creepy voice that, like, is everywhere.
Yeah, I like how they edited her voice. That was good.
Oh, I was weirdly insulted by the idea that Baloo is the one to teach Mowgli about singing, and wolves don't sing when they fucking howl. You're gonna tell me that these fictional wolves don't know what sing is? Every other iteration of, like, wolves in fiction that I've read that are good ones, wolves like singing. Wolves sing, wolves howl. That is singing.
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell me these wolves don't sing? They just chant? No!
Oh, yeah. They're chanting. Yeah, that was weird because howling is much more like singing than any sound a bear makes.
Yeah, so
you know,
I vehemently disagree with that.
Wolf Girl was insulted.
I was very insulted. I think the Bare Necessity song was good.
I do too. It wasn't like
It was
good.
it was not a musical.
It wasn't pretty and it wasn't like harmonized or anything, but I like that it was just realistic, like two friends just singing.
Like, the only thing that would make it better is if it, which is a weird thing to say, that if it was, like, more montagey. Like, it was it's them just hanging out and singing and kind of developing their relationship.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a musical number. It does not make this movie a musical. It's just two friends kind of having a singing moment.
Yeah.
So, literally, the only song in this movie is King Louis' song, which is
so
I just have
bad.
Why? Why did you think that was a good idea?
Why did they, like, and you know, it wasn't,
Like, I think I know
wasn't
why.
as bad as I remember it being, but then it was, like, at first you're like, oh, he's kind of singing, but then when he gets to, like, the you-hoo-hoo and the me-hee-hee and the, I was just like, so when I watched this, I was watching it with two of our other friends who were in the room, and one of my notes that I wrote down is just Nathan making pained sounds as Christopher Walken sings as a giant ape. It was so bad. Like, everyone...
It wasn't as long as I remembered it being.
I remember
Because I remember it being longer because I hated it that much.
Years of my life taken
But,
away
like,
from
there's
this singing.
no reason for it to be in there.
It was
The
so
only
bad.
musical number song in the whole movie is that one. And I know why they did it. I know why they forced Bare Necessities and I Want to Be Like You to be in the movie. Is because they're these two big
They're
songs
iconic.
that everybody knows and they will get mad if they aren't in there. Which is just, it goes to show why you shouldn't force something to be a musical when it's not. Or when it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Okay. Bare Necessities, the whole scene in the animated one is so funny and so good. Not Bare Necessities, I'm sorry. Bare Necessities is good. But King Louie's song in the animated one.
I want to be like you.
Yeah, that whole scene is great. And you've got Baloo showing up in disguise with his hula skirt and his, like, coconuts on his face.
But, like, the tone they set for the scene in this one is, like, gangster creepy.
It's,
And that's not a bad thing. That's an interesting take on it. But to then put it as a musical for no reason?
Yeah, it was so bad.
It didn't fit. It didn't sound good. And that's the one they chose. They had another song they could have gone with. They could have expanded Kaw's role in the movie and had that song in there, which I don't care if it's a good song or not. It's 10 times better, more than 10 times better than Christopher Walken singing.
Yeah.
No offense, but no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know this movie was going with a more serious take or
which is
whatever,
fine.
which is fine. But, like, don't even insult your audience by putting what's supposed to be a fun musical number in that. And
it's just forcing something. Like, if you want to have a more serious tone, that's fine. If you want to have a less serious tone, that's fine. Just be aware of how those two can and cannot commingle.
I wrote down, like, I was thinking about the new live-action Mulan that's coming out and how everyone was mad that it wasn't a musical, and
I think if they made it a musical, it'd be a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, this note that I wrote when I was watching the beginning of this movie was like, oh, I think a more realistic and serious tone will work better for Mulan than it would for this movie because that was already an epic story, whereas this, you're just making it worse because it was just a fun, lighthearted story and you made it too serious and too, like, trying to be like, oh. I actually changed my mind because I do think it worked better than I thought it did. They just forced unnecessary parts to be in there, and things could have been better just overall.
I think as a story, it's something that could work in a more serious tone or like a more epic tone or just a less silly one. Like, both work just fine if you do it well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this movie fully achieved their goal.
Right.
But you could do that.
You certainly could. And I'm sure the book that I haven't read is not like, oh, it's so silly and Baloo dresses in drag and does the hula.
I think it's supposed to be darker. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But yeah, so I'm not saying like, oh, it has to be fun. I mean, I do much prefer the silly animated version. But the more we talk about this and the more I thought about it, it really wasn't a bad movie. I think just the years that I felt like were going by in the midst of that King Louie scene really tainted the entire movie for me when I saw it in the theater.
Well, for me, I think when I first saw it in the theater, I thought it was an okay movie, and then the ending happened, and I was so pissed. I hated the whole thing.
Do we want to talk about the ending?
We can wait. I just was gonna say that.
Okay.
I don't have anything more to say until the end. Anyway.
Now, here's the most important, really, truly important part of the movie. We got the backstory on Baby Mowgli. And by backstory on Baby Mowgli, I mean, we found out how he has a loincloth.
I loved that.
Just really big baby pants.
I love that so much. I remember seeing that in the theater and thinking, yes, they did good on this movie. They did good. That is a good decision.
Yeah. Now we know why he has clothing.
Because he just had baby pants.
Just big old baby pants.
Oh.
Yep, that's what I wanted to say.
I will say they also, like, unrelated, they keep aging him up. Like, in the animated one, he's, like, a legit a baby. In this one, he's, like, maybe 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
In the 1994 ones, he's, like...
He's, like, 6. And he's like, what is Nan?
He's definitely old enough to have memories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's been in the jungle, like, a week.
I really liked the kid who played Mowgli in this. In the live action one.
Oh, he was fine.
I thought he was really good, especially since nothing he was acting with was real. It was all inside a studio, and the animals were dudes crawling around in motion capture.
I know we're talking about, like, acting, but I have not talked about how, like, actually good the animation is in this movie. You don't think it's the same, but, like, I remember not liking it as much, and, like, you know what? They did good. They did a really good job. It looks pretty realistic. They filmed it all inside, but it looks like it's outside.
Yeah, knowing that they created it all indoors, I'm really impressed. Just in general, I'm impressed. I feel like this movie walked so Lion King could run visuals wise.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because, like, the backgrounds are fantastic.
The backgrounds are great.
The animals are, for the most part, pretty good.
I love Baloo. He looks fluffy and great. I did make notes multiple times about how I wish Bagheera didn't look like that.
Like a cat? He looks like a panther.
His face was weird.
I just remember him looking like a panther.
So we just watched the 1994 Mowgli story, which starred real animals, and I could definitely tell a difference between a real panther and what they decided a panther was for this. His face was more like narrow and weird in the animated one, or in the 2016 one.
Honestly, I kind of liked it. Because for the most part, you know how much I will go on, like, love rants about really good animal animation and how a lot of it sucks.
Yeah.
And normally, I'd much rather it be more realistic. Bagheera, I thought they, for the most part, did a really good job, and the changes they made him easier to look at. Because of all the big cats, panther faces are hardest to look at for me.
Yeah, that's true.
They kind of got weird.
They're so solidly one color that it would be hard to show facial expressions, so I guess I could see why they changed the structure of a panther's face a little bit.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I gotta look at a picture of it now.
I just didn't love the way he looked, and I noted that several times. I was like, I don't care for this.
You know what I didn't do that I was gonna do before this podcast?
What?
Watch the trailer to that trash fire of a Benedict Cumberbatch movie.
Oh my gosh,
Because we're talking about animation. Dear God, is that bad?
The Netflix version of the Jungle Book.
It makes me want to vomit. Why? Who made that? Who thought it was a good decision? You explain it while I look up pictures of Bagheera.
There's a version of the Jungle Book on Netflix. We haven't watched it. Maybe we will sometime for a special episode. It could be the bonus content from this episode. Once I can stomach another Jungle Book. I've watched 3 in 2 days.
I'm never watching that thing.
But it could be so funny.
Honestly, I'm literally looking at pictures of Bagheera now. What's wrong with that? He looks like a panther.
Okay, he looks... Hold on. Oh my gosh!
I think we inadvertently found pictures of the bad one.
Yeah!
Mowgli, the Legend of the Jungle.
Let me look at it again.
Okay, people say the animation in Cats 2019 is bad. They don't know what they're talking about unless they've seen still frames of Mowgli, the Legend of the Jungle. It looks scary. It looks so Uncanny Valley. It looks, oh my god. It's got human eyes. You know what? They did a better job in this of the creepy eyes than they did in Hunger Games.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, I'm so
that's
angry all over again.
Like, that's a good, like, really, you need to look up pictures of Bagheera from that movie and just look at his eyes.
Can we make that the thumbnail to the video?
Maybe we will. I'll throw a picture up in the podcast.
Yeah, please do. I don't think it should be the thumbnail because it does not accurately represent anything.
It looks like such a human panther face in all the wrong ways.
It's so freaking disturbing.
Like, you don't like cats? Have you seen this?
I'm gonna post that on Twitter later.
Okay, but here's Bagheera in the 1994 movie.
Okay, his face is more slender than I thought.
It's a panther. I still think panthers kind of have some of the weirdest faces of the big cats, but not, like, extremely so.
Yeah.
And, here's Bagheera with some funny eyes.
He actually looks okay.
Yeah, but, like, for the most part,
he's not
almost
bad.
all of the animals are done really well in the 2016 movies.
So you approved of the wolves?
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay. I was wondering, because I know you're strict on wolf animation.
They weren't bad.
Okay.
Like,
they could have been better.
I've seen what perfection looks like in CGI now, and it's called The Lion King. And by perfection, I mean just don't care about emotion.
Spoilers!
We'll get to that in a few weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, a few weeks.
They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know. They don't know.
But yeah, animation in this movie, really good.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? No. But for the most part, it's really good.
But it was done inside.
It was done inside.
It was so good for what that entails. Mm-hmm. Also...
I have to look at Shere Khan now.
Yeah, Shere Khan was alright.
No, I have to look at Shere Khan. And...
Oh gosh, from Legend of the Jungle.
Isn't Benedict Cumberbatch plays Shere Khan there, right?
I think so. Like, what happened to Benedict Cumberbatch? Why did he think
Well, he made it.
I mean, I'm sure he didn't see the animation
might have
before he
known.
recorded his voice. He probably didn't realize what he was signing on to.
It just looks like Benedict Cumberbatch. It's not quite...
I mean, that's a lot better than Bagheera.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
say
way
Bagheera was a
less
lot worse.
terrifying.
But he's got, like, they made it look like the people. And that's weird.
Don't think I like it when they make it look like the people.
No, I don't. Obviously, I really don't.
I like the way this Shere Khan looks, though.
This one's actually not that bad.
I
remember hating it a lot more.
Not for a realistic-looking tiger, especially, but just as a design, I don't mind this Shere Khan. I like it. Okay.
I don't like it.
It's a Benedict Cumberbatch Shere Khan.
Back to the movie.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
I liked Mowgli's acting, but then you decided we weren't talking about that.
I apologize, because the animation. Mowgli's acting was fine.
I thought he was a really good kid actor. I'm always impressed when kid actors are really good, because a lot of times they're not. No offense to children.
Yeah.
But
I've definitely seen better, but I've also definitely seen worse.
Liked him. I think Jill and I have a really different range of opinions on child actors. But, like, I love him.
I treat them like adult actors.
Yeah, and he was good.
He was fine.
I liked how he was sassing Bagheera when they're, like, walking through the buffalo field and he's being all sassy. I don't know. He was precious. Also, this is super random. I liked the good computer-generated mud on the computer-generated camera lens at one point.
I don't recall that super well.
It
I'll
was
just take your opinion as fact.
Mud. It looked like mud on a camera lens.
Oh,
I think
good.
it was during the stampede part.
Are you sure it wasn't actual mud?
They made this all in a studio.
You can have mud inside.
Oh,
It was probably CGI. I don't know. I don't remember
I just
exactly.
assume everything is CGI except for the child who is Mowgli.
It was all green screen.
Yeah, everything. Okay, do we want to talk about the ending now?
Which ending? The first. I feel like the ending where he fights Shere Khan, and then like how they literally ended the movie are going to be two different discussions, and I don't like either of them.
At one point I wrote, and then they all rise up against their oppressor with inspiring and cult-like chants.
Okay, that part wasn't bad. Like, that ending was kind of good. It's also kind of dumb he got rid of the fire, but that's fine.
It was so dumb that they just got rid of the fire.
Yeah.
I wanted consequences.
And also him, like not only that, like, yeah, it would have been so cool to have Mowgli face, like, repercussions for setting the forest on fire, even accidentally. But also, literally, he had a torch and just threw it away. Didn't use it. And he was immediately told to fight like a man. Like, no, I don't need this. I'm going to be an animal. Never mind. My dad told me I have to be a man after all.
Yeah.
It's like, in theory, I kind of liked that, like, he was told to fight like a man and be a man.
Yeah, I
just
like
kind
that.
of threw that away at the end.
It just wasn't. Yeah. Fight like a man. You're a man. You build things like a man. You use your thumbs like a man. You're a man. Do you want to go to the man? No, I don't want to go to the man village.
Zero payoff.
Yeah.
But it's sort of
not
like
a man after all. Maybe that'll happen in the sequel, because there's gonna be one.
I'm just gonna not watch that.
Oh, you know we will.
When we podcast it, I'll watch it.
Yep. We can watch The Jungle Book 2, the animated version, and then we can compare it with the new live-action sequel.
We also have to do the 102 Dalmatians and all the Dalmatian sequels, too.
Before Cruella comes out?
Well, no, but, like, if we're gonna do sequels, there's already sequels that exist.
Yeah. I mean, like,
There's 102
I forgot there was a
Dalmatians.
live-action 102 Dalmatians. Yep, okay, we're doing sequels in the next season.
Season 2.
Season 2, the sequel.
But as far as the ending, I think, like, the big fight scene was fine. It wasn't, like, overwhelmingly good in theme, but it was good. It was a good reason, like, he brought everyone together. Did you have more? Did we talk about how they ended the movie?
Epic Disney villain death fall.
Legit is a thing.
Shere Khan falls to his death into a flaming jungle, and then the fire bursts up more because apparently he's extra flammable.
Yeah.
Because evil.
Evil is flammable.
Talk about the ending.
In the animated one, he goes to the man village. In this one, he does not. And because I've never liked that ending, I specifically looked up arguments for people that do, because I wanted to see another perspective. I get it, but I also disagree.
What did the people say?
To me, they're really building up him being a man and, like, finding his own place and, like, that. So that's why I prefer the ending where he would go to the man village. But You can also argue that the movie is just a big argument of nature versus nurture, and that the movie's been pushing for nurture being more important this whole time, so he should choose to go to the place where he's been nurtured, not just who he is and like in his DNA. That's a way to take it.
From I just like things because they make me feel good perspective, I like that he stays in the jungle. But from a actual story perspective, I don't think it's as strong that he just never goes to the man village and he stays in the jungle. Like, I would switch the two endings. It would make me happier if in the animated one he got to stay in the jungle.
Yeah.
Because I like that one more. And I don't like that he just chased a thirsty girl. And in the live action one, it's way more like hinted that he has all these traits of humanity and that is really who he is, and like he's a man because he knows how to do all this man stuff and he would thrive there. Whereas in the animated one he has like no agency and he's just carted around by all these different animals and they're like, you're going to the man village, oh you're staying here, you're doing this for me, blah blah blah. He wanted to stay in the jungle the whole time, he just didn't get a choice until he finally had a choice and chased a thirsty girl. But in the live action one, he made plenty of choices, and I feel like a logical choice would have been to go to the man village because he has a lot of potential as a human being. I'm happy for him staying in the jungle because that's apparently what he wanted. But I feel like his character in the live action one is more likely to want to go to the man village than his character in the animated one. And I would flip the endings.
Yeah. A big theme that they could have gone with and maybe tried to but didn't is the idea of feeling abandoned and growing up with another family and how that works in your life. Like, who are you?
Oh, yeah, it could be, like, about adoption. Like, he's part of the jungle family, not part of the man family that abandoned him, except they didn't abandon him because his parents literally died.
It's just that sense of, like, identity of, like, who are you? Like, how much of you comes from, like, where you come from versus how you're raised versus, like, all these, like, how you grow up to be who you become kind of things. Like, those are all themes that maybe are present in these movies, but definitely, if they are, could have been a lot more.
Yeah, and if it were the whole nature versus nurture thing, then you would almost want a movie where he's rejecting his human-like tendencies, but really his human tendencies made him better. So...
And if he's gonna stay in the jungle and have those... I just feel like there should have been something else to make that decision more palatable. Like, he's accepting who he is as a man, but he's choosing to stay where he is. Just make that coming together feel better.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it did show throughout the movie that his man way of doing things was helpful to the other animals in the jungle, like when he rescued the baby elephant from the pit, or when he helped Baloo get the honey. So, like, it is kind of saying, oh, you know, even though he's different from the animals he was raised with, he has a place in the jungle because of who he is and what makes him unique.
And also there's that deep sense of, like, chosen love from, like, Raksha, his mom, has that mind, like, you are mine, you're mine to me. Like, that's a pretty moving moment to me. Like, like she thinks of him as her son because he is her son.
Yeah. So there are good points to him staying in the jungle.
But there's also the idea of, like, where, like, even if you come from, like, a background that's chosen you, like, where are you gonna, like, blossom yourself? Like, where do you ultimately belong, even if you're raised in a certain area?
Yeah, like, of course he loves his family in the jungle, but if anything, showing all of his innovation, the things he does that are uniquely human, and then having him stay in the jungle is kind of like, well, his potential is stunted because he could have...
He needs to go off to college.
Yeah.
He needs to be accepted into Harvard and, like, really, like, get out of the small town and foster his ingenuity.
Yeah. Instead, he stays in the jungle and becomes the Wolf Pups track coach.
Which, I mean, making that decision for yourself can be fine. There's nothing wrong with choosing to stay in your hometown if ultimately that's where you want to be and what makes you happy.
I feel like this discussion just took on a whole new life.
It really did. Like, honestly, like, you can have, like, you can use your giant intellect any way you feel works for you. Like, you can be super smart and choose to teach kindergarten and just do it the best you possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie does a good job of doing that either. I don't know where we're going with this.
The movie didn't do a good job of communicating why it ended the way it did, but we're extrapolating good reasons that it might have. That's basically what this is.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
So, I would have flipped the endings of the animated one with the live action one, but I can now see that there are merits to the way the live action one ended, just like the bones of how it ended, how it was presented was not the greatest.
Fully agree. All right, do we want to do, like, kind of wrap-up comparisons?
Yeah.
The 1967 versions, big pros of that one. It's just a good time. It's memorable. People like it. It's got good characters. It's all around a good movie that doesn't take itself too seriously in story.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's got good musical numbers, which should be there, and are good, and don't involve Christopher Walken.
And most modern live adaptation, we're not even going to bring the 1994 one into this.
I'm going to bring it up in a
Okay,
minute.
you are. The pros of the 2016 version, as with, it seems like several of the new adaptations, it really highlights how they can make things look cool.
Yep.
They're good at that.
They're like, we want to animate it, but not animate it. Let's do that.
They make it look pretty. They make it look cool. They show, like, hey, look what we could do.
Yeah, like I said, it walked so Lion King could run.
Mm-hmm. And it tries to take itself a little bit more serious.
Maybe a little bit too serious.
It tries to do more, but doesn't quite get there.
These poor babies. These poor little live action babies. They're growing, but are they?
Because honestly, it's not as memorable. Like, I don't think it's gonna last as long as...
It's memorable for all the wrong reasons. Like, literally the only thing I remembered about this movie before I rewatched it was, oh no, Christopher Walken's gonna sing as a monkey. As I'm probably going to say about all of these live action movies, better the second time I watched it because I was not so affronted by it as I was the first time in the theater. Like, I feel like I have stronger reactions to most of these movies the first time I watch them. And then I can actually put on my thinking cap more so on a rewatch. So I did not dislike it nearly as much on the second viewing. It would have been, you know what would have been really funny? I'm rewriting this movie now. If the King Louis scene had started, like he started to sing, and then they were like, no.
He does this all the time.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, the monkeys just have to make him stop singing.
Yeah.
That could have been a fun...
That could have worked.
Yeah.
It could have been some comic relief that didn't let that go on too long.
Yeah. Maybe if they did that and then, like, the big, like, chase scene, if they did a really instrumental version of it for then.
Oh, yes!
Like, make it big and scary.
Version.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah. That would have been
You done
better.
messed up.
Yeah,
Jungle
come on.
Book.
Come on, Disney. Get it together. You should hire us to write your movies. Definitely wouldn't try to rhyme anything with Gigantopithecus or whatever. Anyway, yeah, so overall, I think the animated one's better.
You didn't give a cat score.
Oh my gosh, a cat score. This has so many cats.
2?
It does have 2 cats. They're big, though. Okay, well, the cat score is completely arbitrary anyway, so both movies had 2 cats. I would give the animated version a cat score of a 7. 7 out of 10 cats. Because...
It's a good show. I like that show.
Or was it 8 out of 10 cats?
Oh, maybe it is 8.
I'm going to give this movie 8 out of 10 cats.
I think it is 8 out of 10 cats.
It is 8. I'm going to give this movie 8 out of 10 cats. A perfect 10 would have to be like the Aristocats, but both cats...
I feel like you gave another movie like a 42 as a cat score, and
crap.
I'm making that up.
You know what? I told you this is completely arbitrary.
It is. I enjoy that it's completely arbitrary.
This is 8 out of 10 cats for the animated version because there are 2 big kitties and they're both really great characters. For the live action version, one of them's a really mean kitty, so he's lowering the cat score because kitties should be good.
And he straight up killed Aquila.
He did! He just flung him off a cliff. That was kind of comedic, to be honest.
It was. And we're just like, what the
It
fuck?
shouldn't have been. Yeah. I'm gonna give the live action one a 5 out of 10 cat score because Shere Khan was a mean cat and Bagheera wasn't quite as likable as the animated one. So it only gets a 5 out of 10 cats, whereas the animated version gets an 8 out of 10 cats.
Okay. But as far as like which one you liked more, you've already said you like the animated one more.
Yeah, but I do now, upon rewatching, really like and appreciate some of the things the live action one tried to do. I don't think it was a bad movie like I thought originally, but I still prefer the animated version because nostalgia and actual execution of what they were making was successful, except for the ending where he chased a thirsty girl into the man village.
I pretty much agree with everything you just said.
Woo!
I also, if I'm going to choose between the two, I like the animated one more. It does what I think it sets out to do. I think it sets out to be a good time, and it is. And the live action one, although I also remember I really hated the ending when I first watched it in theaters.
Yeah.
And that tainted my entirety of the movie. But after rewatching it and even appreciating the ending a little bit more, it's a good movie. It's not one I really care about that much. I don't really want to rewatch it at all.
Yeah.
Not that I ever strongly want to rewatch Jungle Book animated one either,
Yeah.
but more so.
It's just enjoyable when it's happening to you, but not something you seek out as much.
And how does the 1994 compare to
I
both
was
of those?
just about to say, perhaps we could hit some highlights of the 94 Mowgli story. It starred Johnny Tsunami as Mowgli.
It did.
But the narration was voiced by Fred Savage. It also had Wallace Shawn as one of the chimpanzees. And if you don't know who Wallace Shawn is, he's inconceivable from The Princess Bride.
And Emperor's New Groove Lady.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would give the 94 Mowgli story like a 3 out of 10 cats because the tiger in it was really pretty, but Bagheera was voiced by the lady who played Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove, and I did not think that voice should be attached to that panther. It was very odd. It was not a good choice. What is her name? Eartha something. I looked it up. Anyway, literally, the voice of Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove, but in a panther whose mouth doesn't move, because none of the animals' mouths move, like, animatedly.
Which, I'll say that, like, an actual live animal movie, like,
this had
animals,
fully real animals.
sometimes movies do that well. Like, 101 Dalmatians.
They did great.
Since we've, like, talked about that one already, I do think they used some editing to change tiny facial expressions.
Yeah.
But they had good animal acting in that. This one, they just used clipped of animals, basically, that
And
were already doing stuff.
A lot of awful puns, a lot
And
of...
the wolves were
just-
dogs. Like,
Yeah,
straight up, most of them were just dogs. I'm
just
pretty sure
huskies.
the mom was a German Shepherd. A white one, but still.
You know, I believed it was a wolf at first.
I mean, it's definitely believable. It may not be a German Shepherd. I just think it is.
Mowgli's story was enjoyable in the, like, you should watch it and make fun of it with your friends
Yeah,
way.
definitely.
So I would say we recommend.
Of the 3 movies, which one do you recommend to people the most?
Gosh!
If you want to have a good time and you got some friend around, watch the 1994 movie.
Yeah. There were so many quotable quotes. What's happening to me? What are these things in my eyes?
When he's crying. Because he didn't know he could cry. Apparently he's only been in the jungle like a week, so I guess it makes sense he hasn't cried before, even though he's like 10.
Oh, yes. Found a map to the land of really big bananas. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
You should watch it. But also, don't. When I was watching it, Annabeth walked in and she hadn't seen it yet, because she was the one who had the idea, like, we'll watch all 3 of the Disney Jungle Book movies. I'm 4 minutes into this movie and think, we don't need to watch this. This is not necessary to our analysis of the adaptations.
Aren't you glad we did?
Anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about in this Disney movie podcast?
I don't know. It was just like, wow, the food chain or whatever the crap he says. No, I've got nothing else. We're finished here.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Disney Do-Overs.
Disney Do-Overs.
Yeah.
So our next movie is going to be Beauty and the Beast.
Just waiting. Just can't wait.
Okay, bye. Was that copyright infringement?